Oh, hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Game Show brought to you by Front Yard Fantasy here on the Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Joey Wright. Today, we have a special group of friends joining us for a 10-team Superflex mock draft. Our first guest is the host of the Fantasy Coaches podcast. Sorry about that. And is also a writer for Dynasty Nerds and We Know Fantasy. Everyone welcome Steven Pintado. Steven, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, Joey. Thanks, guys, for letting me come on today. I'm real excited to be here. I love a good mock draft show, so I'm excited for today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we love a good mock draft. We're doing a 10-teamer today. Usually, 12 teams out there, but we get a lot of feedback that people love our 10-team mock draft, so we're doing one of those today. Our next guest, no stranger to FYF, he's the IDP director at Fantasy and Frames, and he finished as a top 10 IDP ranker for the third year in a row over at Fantasy Pros, and he also wanted me to mention that he is our number one guest and my BFF.
Oh,
Everyone welcome Nate Markham. Nate, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I like the fact that you said that I told you to put those things when you gushingly asked if you could say those items. I gave you a thumbs down, but you said it anyway.
I begged and begged and begged you. I was like, can I please say these wonderful things about you so that we have it memorialized forever here at FYF? So our next guest and our third guest is also a great friend of the show, no stranger to us. He's the co-founder of Pros with Joes, which I played in last year, and still not sure which one of those I was, a pro or a Joe. And he is part of Green Screens Media. Everybody say hey to Eric Romoff. Eric, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm in my 150-degree attic in Texas, so this one's going to be a sweatshop, but it's also because we're drafting a 10-team Superflex league.
Yeah, we are drafting a 10-team Superflex league, but we are not alone today. As always with FYF, we have the chat, and let's just start with a question first off today. Grand fan popping in here. Discussion time. In Adam Rank's game-by-game predictions for the upcoming season, he has the Jets going 13-4, with the only losses being Cowboys week 2, Buffalo week 11, and Miami's the 2 weeks, 12 and 15. Eric, I'm going to throw it to you first. What do you think about that? Do you think that's possible for the Jets?
Possible, maybe, right? I haven't exactly examined the Jets schedule top to bottom, so I would imagine they probably have a few more losses in there than 4, right? They're going to have a tough time with Buffalo. Obviously, he's got them dropping one of those games. I also think New England is going to be a bit more of a difficult out this year than they were last year. And look, to win 13 games in today's NFL for any team is very hard to do, right? That would basically make them the number 1 seed in the AFC. And they're not as good as many of the, kind of traditional favorites for the number 1 seed in that conference. So I think that's probably a bit bullish, but Adam Rank did it so that people would talk about it. And here we are.
There we are. Yeah. So Steven, if you're going to the sports book, you're throwing a bet down. Are you going over or under 13 wins?
I'm definitely going under 13 wins here. I can't believe Adam Rank has the Jets beating the Chiefs and the Eagles. Come on. I love that he has Miami on there twice. I love that. That's great. But I'm not totally convinced that this team is going to be able to put up 13-4 their first season with Aaron Rodgers there. Rodgers has been good, but he's definitely on a decline as a passer overall. So I can't see that they're going to just jump out of nowhere to a 13-4 record early on.
Yeah, that number seems a little high to me as well. We got Rick Butts in here. I'm going to say hey to Rick. Hey, Rick. Hey. Albert, how you doing today, buddy? Always love seeing Albert in here. Victor, hello, bro chachos. Smash that like button. FYF for life. Thank you, as always. Oh, Grim fan. I'm not allowed. You know what? I'm hosting today, so I can talk about wrestling. Got all my AEW All Out tickets today. Oh, yeah. Enjoy your time there, Grim. We got Herms in here. Herms is also in the chat saying, oh, hi. That's good. That's a free one that everybody got for today. All right. Scamper's in here. I am pumped after that beautiful beef I just got. Hello, FYF fam. Greg's in here saying we got a full set. We got a lot of people in here today. All right. Well, guys, so before we get into the game, a couple reminders. Follow our guests. You can find Steven on Twitter at Coach Steven P, and that's Steven with a V-E-N. No PHs, no Steven Johnson today. It's at Coach Steven P. You can find Nate on Twitter at Nate Markham, just how his name is spelled, right there on the screen. And then you can find Eric at Fantasy Nav. And I don't know what Nav stands for, but are those like your initials or something, Eric?
No, one point, I spun up a website called Fantasy Navigator. Many characters.
Brandon. If you're watching on YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to make sure you never miss us live at 3 p.m. every weekday. If you're watching on FYF's YouTube, that goes for that, and also the Better Sports Network YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to both. With that being said, guys, I think it's time to kick this draft off. So I'm going to start it up.
Let's go.
Second here. All right. And our good friend, let me turn those little notifications off so we don't blow everyone's speakers out. Here we go. Draft board up here. We got our good friend Craig with the first pick in here today. And this is a 10-team Superflex draft. Craig, uh-oh. Yeah. They gave me the keys to the ship today.
I think Keith asked, is it redraft or dynasty?
It is redraft. It is redraft. Terms in here.
Right. Not Keith.
Cap box is an an oil painting accident. Why aren't you on the screen? Do you need help? Herms is very concerned about JL. JL is not on the show today. If he is a secret. Oh, is it still going on? There we go. So Jalen Hurts going number 1 overall. Does that surprise you guys, or is that around where you guys have seen him go?
I mean, I think that top 3, really. I mean, preference at this point. Is anybody shocked if it goes in any specific order between the top? Well, at least my top 3, which would consist of Allen, Mahomes, and Hurts.
I think you can interchangeable.
Yeah, pretty much. Dustin here saying, "What's up, fellas?" And host Team Joey. Thanks, Dustin. Always appreciate the support. Dame wants to know how the weather is, JL. So no, Herm's going. Lamar Jackson at 4th overall. Road Heat Rick. Justin Jefferson. Is that, Steven, I want to come to you. If you have the number 1 pick as far as, if we'll say this wasn't Superflex, is Justin Jefferson your 101, or do you like someone more than Jefferson at this point?
No, I really do believe it's Justin Jefferson. I mean, I guess you could make a case for Jamar Chase as well, because I feel like there's that upside that elite upside that we're still yet to see from him. And I think if he plays obviously 16 games, he could do that. But Justin Jefferson should be in line for another, 1,700-yard season and maybe 10 touchdowns. I mean, it's a safe pick. It's just like Antonio Brown, almost 8 years ago. It's just take the wide receiver, take that nice floor play every week you get.
Absolutely. So Nate, you took Josh Allen 3rd overall. If let's say you had the 101, would you be taking Josh Allen first?
Probably not. No. Probably take Hurts, honestly. Mahomes would be a right there with me. Just obviously being a Chiefs fan, you want to have a little bit of bias, but there's the ceiling for all 3 given specifics. I mean, Mahomes last year with ultimately nothing, honestly, being a Chiefs fan, I can say that, kind of like you can pick on my brother type thing, but with no receivers, and he still had over 5,000. I think replication, I'm not too worried about B&B being gone personally, if that was going to be the next follow-up question that I seem to get a lot from people.
Absolutely. So Steven, you took Trevor Lawrence as the 7th quarterback, which I absolutely love. What is it that you like about Trevor Lawrence that you would take him at the 109? Oh, and Fields. That is a beautiful quarterback combo.
Yes, you left me with left me with 1 quarterback extra, so I was happy about that. So, but
that's nice.
I mean, the way I see it is that, we saw a major improvement from last year. He's getting additional weapons in the passing game. He's in another year of this Doug Peterson offense here. He was a cornerstone coming out of the draft as the next potential great quarterback here. I mean, he has the tools and he has that rushing floor. That's just enough that give him a little bit of an extra that bumps him up for me. So, I mean, in the Superflex League, it was just too easy to pass up.
Love that. Scamper saying hi to JL, even though he's not on the show. And Scott Fish, JL, I'm going to DM you a pic I was just sent of a license plate. So thank you for including all of us in that, Scott Fish. JL, help me, Herms. I'm stuck in an ABC family show. Nate, I want to know, if you were on an ABC family show, which one would you want to be stuck in? Didn't expect that question today.
I didn't. I would say differentiating between ABC and others is going to be a challenge, and I like that you do that right as I go on the clock.
Oh,
Not that has
Simon.
No. I love that. It's where I'm not in a 100-degree attic, so I don't have the pressure of the sweat to go down. And I hate even going because I know you're going to ask me, what about, stacking stuff? But in a 10-team league, let me ask you guys a question. Do you find yourself like changing your strategy exponentially from a 12 in any facet? Superflex, can you wait a little bit longer on quarterbacks, etc.? I'm always intrigued to hear different opinions on 10 versus 12.
Yeah, for me, like there's more quarterbacks to go around. So I'm usually waiting on quarterback in general, but in a 10-team league, I'm not going to take a quarterback, especially with one of my first 2 picks. Let's say I do like Justin Fields a lot. I might have taken him there, but that idea of having McCaffrey and Chase, that's sexy to start a redraft league with. So yeah. Steven, how do you feel about that? Is there any strategy you change differently with a 10 to 12?
I mean, in this format, I mean, if it was a 12-man, would I have had a chance for another quarterback situation like back to back? I probably wouldn't have taken, a Dak or a Watson at this point if I was coming in my second round. But the fact that it was a 10-man and I was able to get a top tier talent like Justin Fields, it changed my strategy just a little bit on that note. I was like, you know what, let me take the 2 quarterbacks. Now I don't have to take any quarterbacks. Now I can wait a while if I want my third, and now I'm just going to strictly start getting into some skill positions. So definitely changes a little bit because in a 12-man, I probably would have went another position than taking 2 quarterbacks in like a 10 year.
No, I don't think anybody's arguing with Lawrence and Fields. We already mentioned it. Just I don't believe anyone's going to have 2 better quarterbacks than you in this draft. I feel pretty safe in saying that.
Of course, I'm the only one with 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, but you got 2 of the best. Simon's here. Where are you, Simon? Holy squad, I can't believe I'm missing this. Currently walking down the side of a 4-lane highway in 104-degree heat. Oh, God. Why are you walking? I was told you were driving as fast as you could go. So, oh, boy. Simon, be safe out there. We need you.
Get in an Uber, my guy. It's too hot for that.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, and I appreciate the priorities, too. Still made it a point to turn on the show. I'm sure he smashed all the buttons from the side of I-10 or I-35 or wherever he might be.
Victor in here saying, my sources have told me that whoever takes Najee Harris will become Herm's favorite team. How about that? So if anybody's looking to have Herms be their favorite, just draft Najee Harris. That's the little extra prize that comes with drafting Najee.
I like this prize.
Wouldn't Herms just draft him himself to make himself the best team, or does he automatically think he's going to be the best team even without the Najee caveat?
I see that the draft board's not updating. I want to find out why that is. Give me 1 second, guys.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you see that?
I do. No.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it down real quick, and we're going to put it back up. I'm going to do a little refresh action.
I've also spent the last 5 minutes trying to find ABC family shows, by the way, and I don't recognize any of these. In case anybody
legitimately
watches,
couldn't name one.
I
was terrified that prompt was going to come my way. I don't know if I have a single ABC show in my locker.
Let's read off some of these hits that maybe you guys know what they are.
There we go.
How about Station 19? Ring a bell?
Never heard.
Ever.
1 o'clock.
Nope.
Was Family Matters an ABC show?
See, now that's actually that's good. That's how far back I was going.
If that's the case, I mean that has to be the vote, right? I just assumed that they were like always at that theme park that was in the opening montage, which is the type of sitcom family experience that I'm here for, at least.
All right. So it's updating now. There we go. Yeah. Deshaun Watson, Devonta Smith. Right there. Steven's on the clock here. Let's see what Steven has with this pick.
Yeah, it's a little tough.
All right.
So Eric, I'm gonna go to Nate because I don't want to come to Eric because Eric's gonna be up soon.
Okay.
You stacked Diggs and out, and you said you know I was gonna ask you about it, but then you took Davante Adams after that. Are you not worried about Garoppolo as Adams' quarterback? Or are you okay with him no matter who's throwing the ball?
Worried to an extent based off of the comparison, sure, but I think that's kind of baked in a little bit at the fact that he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
9,
the wide receiver 10, not 11. So I mean, at that point, I feel pretty insulated with the safe floor. I know the ceiling is capped a little bit, but in a 10 team, I don't know. I've always felt like shooting them. You can always going to have a great team, and stability is always nice to have, especially when you're starting 3 receivers. I really wanted Chubb there personally.
Yeah.
And
That's nice.
And I could have taken him in the second, and I would have been just as happy with most likely having either Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb as my one if that had started a different run. But
Absolutely.
Where are you at on Davante? Because I've heard a lot of people, no one's totally out. I haven't heard, but maybe you'll.
I think he went right where he should have gone. After St. Brown, I have St. Brown ahead of Davante Adams. Definitely after Chase and AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb, I'm fine with where you took him. I don't know if I'm super excited about having him on my team, but if I get him at the 303, I'm very content with that. Steven, you made the decision. You'd actually make the decision for me. I took Devonta Smith, but I was struggling between T. Higgins and Devonta Smith. If you had to choose between those players, who would you choose?
I probably would still stick on to T. Higgins here, strictly because I believe there will be more passing volume in the Bengals offense than the Eagles offense. This is a personal opinion on that. I mean, I like Devonta Smith a lot, but I don't know if he finishes with another wide receiver 1 performance. I think T. Higgins has a better shot this year to do that if he can play all 17 games. And because I do trust him as a passing unit over where, Jalen Hurts is going to run, and they also have a bunch of new running backs that they're going to probably run the ball with a lot too. So,
absolutely. So Herm saying anyone other than him drafting Najee should be a punishable crime. And that's good. No one's going to get punished today because Herms did take Najee Harris at the 407.
Thank you, Herms.
Yeah, thank you, Herms. None of us wanted to get punished on the show today. Well, maybe I did, but yeah, I'm not supposed to talk about that. So Anthony Richardson went before Geno Smith, after Tua. Is that right about where he should go, guys? Or should Richardson maybe gone a little bit later than this? Or maybe sooner? Nate, what do you think?
I think that feels about right? With a 10-team format, the upside in getting someone who can finish in the top 3 at their position is a huge priority. And while there's certainly risk and uncertainty as to whether or not Richardson can do that, he's got the skill set for that to be on his range, right? Where guys like Geno or Dak Prescott, probably don't. I was looking at him with my 4th pick after Scampers so kindly sniped my stack with Tua and Tyreek Hill. But ultimately, with these shorter formats, the floor is kind of raised, so you have to shoot for upside, and I think that's what Rick's doing there with getting Richardson.
Excellent. We got some ABC Family Show comments here. We got Herm's been watching the middle. Scampers, old person like me, watching Step by Step. Mm-hmm. I think I had a crush on every daughter that was on that show that was okay to have a crush on, because at the age I was at.
Yeah, but now you can't.
Now I can't.
Now it's
the oldest one was in college, so that's still inappropriate because I'm like 40 now, but she's probably old now, just like me. Or do they live forever in time? Like once they're in that TV box, do they just?
We're living in a hypothetical sitcom world, right? So whatever age they were in that episode is what age they will be in this life that you're stepping into.
I found the answer for myself, and it's Mr. Belvedere, strictly because I was ideal. I loved that one growing up, and I was being a big baseball fan. They had trying to find thing I'm rambling on. Bob Uecker was on it, but I want to make sure that was ABC. I might be giving a bad answer, and it's for some reason hard to find shows that were exclusively on ABC. Like they bounced around, maybe. So we'll see. Didn't know this.
Our producer Adam coming in saying Bob Uecker. So yeah, that's correct.
Yes,
but Mr. Belvedere was on ABC apparently. So now Herms took a player that I'm really, really interested in drafting this year, and that's Calvin Ridley. Steven, I kind of want to come to you. What are you thinking about Calvin Ridley? Do you think that right now his draft stock has flown up draft boards? Do you think he should be going around the 5th round of a Superflex league, or do you think maybe he should go in a little bit lower, like maybe a little more worried about him after 2 years off almost?
I mean, I think round 5, round 6 is a solid spot where you're not taking like a super risk on him. I mean, he's going earlier here. I mean, I wouldn't probably, if he fell in round 4, like in a 12-man league, I probably wouldn't. I'd be like, that's a little high for me. But I mean, in the middle of round 5, I'd probably prefer round 6. Like, if I could have got him at my pick, I would have been much more safe with that kind of situation. But I think there's a possibility for him to be able to bounce back right away. I mean, if you think of it as he just, tore an ACL technically last year, say he did that, and then he's coming back this year healthy, I mean, I'm sure he's been working out this entire offseason here. I've heard some good things about it. I do expect him to be able to bounce back. He might not have that same ceiling when he was with Atlanta the first time around, but he should be able to put up possible wide receiver 2 numbers this year alongside with Christian Kirk. So
nice. Simon texted me privately and said I'm doing a good job of hosting. So Simon's a liar, so that's good to see that he wants to lie to us all today. All right, so Steven's on the clock. We're not going to ask him a question. We're going to come to Nate though. Okay. Tony Pollard and Keenan Allen. Love those 2 picks. How do you feel about Tony Pollard? Like, I know there's a little bit of discourse around him with if Zeke comes back. What do you think is going to happen there?
I mean, I think that's leaning towards the landing spot that if Vegas had their odds right now. I still don't necessarily worry. I mean, we saw last year even with Zeke when they were comfortable with him being part of that offense before they let him go. Because if they bring him back, I can't imagine that becomes a focal spot. So my only concern with Pollard was how many actual rushing attempts can he handle? Is 250 too much? If that's the case, then 225 with his efficiency still and the receiving upside, I'm good. Especially in 10-team leagues are always, that's the reason I like doing them, because it looks great when Tony Pollard is my RB1 that I got at the 4.8. And Keenan Allen is boring, safe, but I like boring and safe.
Boring and safe is good. That's what my wife tells me every morning when we wake up.
Oh,
I know. Isn't that sad? So JL, what's JL doing? He's going to the beach. Ooh, have a good time out there, JL. Man. Steven, you got a great group of wide receivers there.
I'm very mad you took DJ Moore, though. I'm mad you took DJ Moore.
So with DJ Moore, because that's someone that I've really kind of rose up on the last few weeks. At first, I was just like, I'm not sure that the amount of targets are going to be there. But then I started thinking, like, the amount of volume he's going to get there in Chicago. Like, what type of target share do you think he could possibly command there in Chicago?
I mean, I think he's set for between 120, 135 targets. I feel like that's like a pretty safe floor that he's going to probably have this season here. I mean, I do really like him because I like to grab at least like a 1 stack between my wide receivers here and my quarterback. So I thought that was a great time to go out and get a guy like DJ Moore, who I should, have high wide receiver 2 value. So, but I do like London too. So it's a nice consolation.
Excellent. So Dak Prescott, Eric, Dak and Herbert. Come on. And you got Dak at the 6'4". That could be one of the best value picks of this draft.
I mean, I was taking a look at Dak 2 rounds ago after I got sniped. And I decided to holding out hope that Richardson might make his way back around to me after he didn't. I mean, Dak was just sitting there staring me in the face. I've entirely contradicted myself in talking about shooting for upside, but, in terms of a QB2, I'm pretty happy with, that kind of consistent productivity that I'll get out of Dak, right? I don't have to worry about either of those spots throughout the season. And, Dak should theoretically be able to, deliver a pretty solid year overall. We obviously have to deal with the reality that Moore is no longer the offensive coordinator, but I think they're still going to try to leverage their pass catching weapons pretty well. And that means a solid year for Rain Dakota.
Rain Dakota. Love that. Nate's on the clock.
Man. And that run of quarterbacks crushed.
Did it crush you? Because you've only got one quarterback right now.
Yeah. Little draft inside as far as I'm concerned. Craig's the only one that Craig has one with Hurts. There's 2 quarterbacks left, in all fairness, for me that I would consider here, and it's Rodgers and Goff. And I would be okay, not thrilled with either. I would rather have had Cousins, Dak, or Russell Wilson. So in turn, I'll just wait and take my number 2 and take JK and then let Craig decide my fate. Which shitty number 2 am I getting? I'm sorry. Which crappy number 2 am I going to get?
You can curse here on Better Sports and with FYF. We don't mind at all. Craig is really good at running your draft rooms. I should know that from many mock drafts. And earlier today, Craig and I got announced draft positions, and it turns out Craig is right before me in a draft. So all this sniping he's been doing on stream with yours at FYF is going to come in handy for him. All right, so we got a little more ABC Family Discord here. Herm's throwing
Boy
what
Meets
might be
World.
the GOAT, Boy Meets World.
Facts.
I live in that world, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
It's true.
John in here. Hey, John, how you doing today? Was just going to bring up Boy Meets World. Been watching that show, and it holds up well.
Hey, it's Johnny.
Herms and John are just having their own conversation in the chat. But this one's for me, says my man. And I know that's for me, Herms. Thank you so much. So looking at,
didn't go
Damian
quarterback.
Pierce, because, was that?
He didn't go quarterback.
Of course he
No.
didn't.
No. Craig wanted to see me get mad, and he took Damian Pierce. So I got Damian Pierce and Scott Fishbowl. So I had a pretty good day yesterday when that happened. So Kyle Pitts went a full almost three rounds after TJ Hawkinson. I think Kyle Pitts is pretty much everyone's tight end for, maybe Kittle. Is that some great value there, or is that around where Kyle Pitts should be going? Eric, what do you think?
I think that he should be going as the fourth tight end off the board overall. In my experience this offseason, I'm seeing a much bigger gap between Andrews and Hawkinson than we saw here between Pitts and Hawkinson, right? Like I think those two are pretty clearly in a tier onto themselves. So for him to fall, a full 3 rounds, that feels like really solid value overall. And another player that is being drafted late, but if things, turn up in its favor, could very well push for, a top 2 or 3 finish at his position.
Absolutely. So, Nate, you're off the clock. Steve is going to be coming up here soon. So I'm going to give you a task to do here. I want you to look through these teams so far.
Okay.
Through, we'll just say 6 rounds. And tell me what team, other than your own, because we don't want you being boisterous about yourself, what team do you like? Who do you like? Whose build do you like?
I will say, considering the multiple times I've been sniped so far without looking, and I'm just starting left to right, team 2 with Chubb and Ramondre both were picks that I was contemplating there. I love the running back room there, and I'm fine with actually waiting and getting Geno to pair with Mahomes. Jerry Jeudy as your 2 in a 10 team, I'm good with. I think that's probably the strategy there is with wide receivers being deep enough that you can wait on your 3rd. So let me continue. Such a hard question, Joey, in that I have to read, talk, and then not try to insult anybody at the same time is not my forte.
You should definitely try to insult people with this.
Yeah, please do.
I have to have a good reason to insult.
Say something bad about my team, please.
No, I refuse to. Too nice. I'll ask you guys a question as far as Josh Jacobs is concerned. I think I've heard multiple different people that are concerned with the 350 touch plateau or cliff. He's 25. I'm not overly concerned. And at 4.4, it seems like just an easy pick. And I know this is supposed to be insulting teams, but that's the opposite. I'm congratulatory, I guess.
Yeah. I took Jacobs around Eric took him here in the 4th round. I've taken him to the 3rd round of Superflex leagues before. I think Eric got great value on him. I've been having like flashbacks to DeMarco Murray year with Josh Jacobs. That great year DeMarco Murray had, and then the next year after he was just like nothing. So I'm hoping that's not the case for him. But Eric, you took him. So how do you feel about him?
I feel pretty good about him as I make my next draft selection. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the value, right? Sitting there at the beginning of the 4th round feels like a pretty good price on him, considering that he was running back 1, or at least a running back 1. I think he finished as running back 3 on average last year, and the volume is key, right? Like, yes. That is a lot of work, right? It's not only the 350 carry cliff. He almost pushed for 400 total touches, which is just like a relic of fantasy football seasons past, right? When you get a running back that's going to get that kind of workload, and him being 25, him getting that franchise tag, the passing game being conducted by Jimmy Garoppolo, or Jimmy Garoppolo potentially being injured or working his way through injury, I think we're probably looking at another season where they just run him into the ground, right? So, maybe his efficiency stats take a bit of a hit, right? I don't think he pushes for nearly 5 yards a carry like he did last year, 4.9 yards. But ultimately, if he's going to touch the ball north of 300 times, that is a fantastic position to be in with your RB2.
Steven, you made a pick that I absolutely love with Darren Waller going, 2 picks after Kittle. But Darren Waller, another player that could lead his team in targets. Do you think that he has a legitimate chance to lead the Giants in targets this season?
Yeah, absolutely. He does. That's kind of why I took him here. I was kind of hoping he was going to fall to me the last few picks here. And I was like, you know what? At this point for tight end, anyone after this, there's no upside like Darren Waller to get maybe 130, 140 targets in this offense here. I mean, you have a lot of slot wide receivers, a lot of unproven wide receivers in this New York offense. But you have Darren Waller, who we've seen already. It's been a little bit of time, but we've seen him already perform at an elite level and see an elite target share in an offense. So I don't see why not that they can focus him as their number one pass catcher on the offense. So.
Absolutely. Craig coming in here telling me that Nate is a peacock and I have to let him fly. So, well.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
That
Mr.
is
Scampers. Go ahead.
I would say that's a other guy's reference. He knows I have an affinity for that movie, and we incorporate that as much into possible.
Nate, this goes to you. Mr. Scampers is wanting insults. I'd like you to insult me.
Your movie on the third row to your left, second over, is stupid.
How dare you say that about Blade Runner 2049? Because that is the movie that is in that location. Because I know exactly where every movie is in my collection.
As you should.
I know. Okay, Herm's coming in. And to Nate's point, Jacobs was extremely lightly used in college. There's a higher correlation to an extended career workload versus NFL workload. So that's a draft shark right there. Telling us how it is.
Use the word correlation. That makes
He's
every
saying
argument
251 carries in 3 years at Alabama for Jacobs, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think it's an entirely different story if he's, 27 going on 28, right? But he's one of those sneaky players that's just like perpetually younger than I think he is in my head, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it's not like another Derrick Henry situation. We just don't see it yet, is it? Or is there only one Derrick Henry for the
If we don't see it, neither do the Raiders, right? Because if it was, he's not being offered that franchise tag.
That's a good point. All right, so we're what?
But
We're
also,
through 9
not
rounds.
like the Raiders have the best track record of savvy front office decisions either.
How dare you talk about Jamarcus Russell?
Somewhere he's still throwing a football across the field on his knees.
Yes. And somewhere someone's defending that is worthy of a first round pick or that has value. You guys go ahead, Joey.
Go ahead, Nate. No. I actually have to wait till what I want to say till Steven's on the clock.
You talked
about any of his strategy.
No worries. To go with what Herb was saying about college workload, I wonder if you go back and look at the total touches for someone like Jonathan Taylor, who is a year younger than Jacobs, if he actually has more miles on his legs already than what Jacobs has, even with missing some time. Because in college, he was, way worked, if that's the right phrasing. You know what I'm saying?
Did you say way worked or
way worked? I was going to say overworked, but it's hard to be overworked when you're a bell cow in college,
Was it underworked? Would that be a thing?
No, he was not underworked. Jonathan Taylor, that is.
Steven, who's your team? Your favorite team?
The Dolphins.
Dolphins? Okay.
Got the background right here. You can't see it, but
there it is. Okay,
there's a little man cave or whatever you want, a fan cave.
Nice. All right, so I had to wait to ask you this. It seems like you and I are playing running back chicken.
Yeah.
Are you just not happy with the value over the last few rounds? Because that's where I was. Every time I got to my pick, I was like, I don't like any of these guys. Is
There's
that kind of where you were at too?
One round that I was like, oh, maybe I should have took a running back, and that was the round where T. Higgins went. But after that, it's been kind of like, I'll wait. I've always been a big 0 RB, hero RB, fashion at RB, so.
And I like your running back. The Jimmy
validating that point.
Thank you. I figured, at my first RB1 might as well go with potential upside. He's got top 5 potential if he hits correctly. So,
the Madison pick, love that. All right, let's see. Am I going to pull the trigger? I guess I will. I'll double tap. There we go. I got a lot of hate for taking Pacheco earlier today. He's with Kansas City, one of the best teams in the league. Led the team in carries last year. I don't think that's such a terrible pick in the 10th round. I made almost a similar pick today, and Adam Acer from CBS came in and had some words with me. So that wasn't very nice of Adam. I know. Can't believe he said that. So Eric, how are you looking here? Let's see. We got Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, 4 great wide receivers, and then Barkley and Jacobs. Eric, you have a really sexy team and a tight end already. Get Eric on the way.
Yeah, not thrilled with Dallas Goedert. I was actually hoping that Darren Waller would make his way back to me, but I am fairly familiar with this part of drafts where once Darren Waller comes off the board, it's kind of Dallas Goedert in a heap of just mediocrity at the position. So went a little bit earlier than I would like to on him, but overall, I feel like I've got a team that projects pretty well, right? I'm going to need a few guys to pop if I want this team to kind of emerge from a 10-team format. But ultimately, I've got guys that I think should be able to put up solid volume.
Now, I don't want to give away too much of your strategy, but you just said that you're not too high on Goddard. So does that mean you're probably a little more likely to reach for a tight end at some point coming up here?
Not necessarily, right? In a 10-team format, really once you get past tight end 6 or 7, they're all pretty similar in my mind. So,
okay.
No need to really reach on the second tight end, right? If some value falls, there's a couple names that offer a bit more upside than that, than the pack, if you will. But ultimately, with a format this shallow, pretty fine with just about whoever is left for my tight end too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Steven taking Quentin Johnston. Yes. So of the Wookiee wide receivers, not Wookiee. There are no Wookiee wide receivers that I'm aware of this season. However, if there is, I'm taking them at the 101 because a Wookiee on the field, the height, the hairy palms would probably try to help him catch the ball a little bit. But of the rookie wide receivers, Steven, is Quentin Johnston. Where does he land for you? Would you rather have him or Addison or JSN? Where are you landing on the rookie wide receivers?
In terms of this season alone, I think I can make a real argument for Quentin Johnston. Jordan Addison might have a better shot to start in the number 2 slot. Obviously, week 1 for the Vikings, and JSN is obviously a tremendous athlete. But the way I see it is Quentin Johnston has a good chance to potentially start some point this season here, and an offense that is going to be more pass heavy. We've seen with Kellen Moore led offense that they want to throw the ball downfield more. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, they're older, they get hurt. I think Quentin Johnston, his speed and downfield abilities could be really big this season. So as my first guy off my bench here, I feel like he has wide receiver 2 upside if things fall right for him. But if not, he's definitely a guy that I could throw in my flex spot at times, especially depending how the season works.
Absolutely. Now, this is a redraft league, so you took him there, which I think is great. If this was Dynasty, though, would you maybe shy towards JSN?
I have JSN still as my number 1 wide receiver. I'm on the rookie, so I probably would have took him because I love his overall upside. So I probably would have, but I think Quentin Johnston still could make an argument too. He's going to have Justin Herbert for hopefully a long time, and he's going to probably be the starter as soon as 24 hits. So
we got Rick in here, mad at our friend Ladarius for taking George Pickens. Always love a good snipe. I always say there's nothing more better than a good GD real loud during a draft towards a fellow friend. Craig Evans, what'd you say?
I said I chose my spot, Joey, to snipe you, and I don't think I've done that too much. I feel like you've got me more than I've gotten you. So,
oh no. Craig coming in with a good team name for everybody: Chewbacca, Calvin Ridley, for all the Star Wars fans out there.
Oh, Craig.
Ooh, Kadarius Toney going at the 11-2. That's about around where I've seen him go. Oh, Craig, you jerk, taking Samaje P. Ryan from me. That's one of my favorite players. Yeah, I just saw it. So if anybody from my Scott Fishbowl league is watching the show right now, which I hope none of you are, that's who I'm dying to draft. And he hasn't gone yet. So, yeah. Nate, you're on the clock here. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Go for it. I'm ready.
I want to wait to see who you pick. Oh, Chig Okwonko. Talk to me about Chig. Tell me why you love him.
Love because everything that we saw last year, I've said it so many times that for years, tight end is exclusively top 3, top 4, then 4 for 44 in any given week. Someone's going to score a touchdown. They're going to move up to be the tight end 2 over in the week. Next week, they're going to be tight end 30 because they're not going to have, again, 4 for 44. But Okonkwo with the, the mad number of 30-plus plays, 20-plus yard plays that he had, I'm looking for that type of upside. My concern, of course, is the D-Hop consideration. If that happens, his value goes, I don't want to say a lot down, but I think it does take a pretty considerable hit. So in this case, I'm hoping that Hopkins is just posturing with the Titans and the Patriots talk, and he's waiting for the Chiefs to get the Chris Jones reworking of the contract done, and then they can fit him in, or he's willing to take a cheap couple $1 million deal with Buffalo, and then Okonkwo was still the top 5 or 6 tight end on the season.
Steven, if you're heading to your sports book of choice and you had to place a bet on where D-Hop's going to end up, where are you putting your money?
I'm probably going to land on the Titans.
Okay.
I feel like they really do need another wide receiver in that starting lineup there, and I feel like they're going to try to at least – I feel like the Titans always consistently want to win. They don't want to tank. They don't want to continue to have bad seasons here. I mean, Mike Vrabel wants this team to win, so I wouldn't be surprised if he really tries to work his magic and he goes there. So
excellent. So I want to start breaking down a few of these teams. You guys can help me out a little bit. Craig going Jalen Hurts and Stafford as his 2 quarterbacks. Paired that with CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, and Michael Thomas. That's a great group of wide receivers there. Dameon Pierce, Miles Sanders, and Samaje P. Ryan. Had he not taken Samaje P. Ryan, I would say that his running backs were a little weak. But because he took P. Ryan, I would think he has some elite running backs there. All right. Eric just took Kyler. Eric, what week's Kyler going to be on the field? Since you know the answer to that question.
According to a snippet that I saw from an interview, it might have been like a Cardinals live stream here recently. He is allegedly aiming for week number 1. And obviously that is what anyone who's injured and worried about losing their job to Caleb Williams is going to say. But, realistically, I've talked ad nauseum about the need for upside in this format, and, getting Kyler, this deep in as my 3rd quarterback. If we're looking at a world where he misses 3, 4, 5 games, but comes back to, be mostly himself down the stretch run, this is a quarterback that's got QB3 finish under his belt, a QB4 finish under his belt, excuse me. So if I can ultimately, wait that out with steady Eddie Dak Prescott and get Kyler, I should say, for the playoff run, that's the type of upshot that I need.
See, Herm saying a very on-brand pick for Joey is available here. I hope he does it. And Herms knows me too well. There it is. I love me some Pat Friar-Tuck. Love him very much. Especially, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. He ends up, again, 2nd on the team in targets this year with the Steelers. Pickens and Johnson, sure. Like, Deontay Johnson will probably lead the team in targets, but, I think Pickett might just lean a little bit on Freiermuth going up into the season. Love the Sam Howell pick. I was hoping he would kind of maybe snake back to me. Didn't think it was going to happen, but a lot of people taking 3 quarterbacks at this point. This is fun.
My choice was between Freiermuth and Chig. It was coin flip there.
Steven, do you think Howell holds on to that job for the whole season, or do you think Brissett pops in there at some point?
No, I mean, I'm hopeful. I mean, there's a potential. Sure, I think there's a potential that happens. But I mean, I'm very hopeful. I'm very high on Sam Howell as like a QB3 in most of the flex leagues. To be honest, I feel like his upside as a rusher is kind of underrated, and I feel like he has the weapons around him to be successful. He just needs to put it all together. And if he can at least continue to start each and every single week and have that rushing floor, he could be a big surprise this season.
I like when people stay on brand in drafts, and the cat taking the new cat, Bryce Young, with the Panthers. I love seeing that. So good job, Scampers. Elijah Moore going. Eli Moore. Do you guys like Eli Moore or Elijah? What are you referring to him as? It's Elijah,
Give
right?
me Elijah.
Yeah. I don't know if people call him Eli. I think the book of Eli.
I don't know him like that, right? To immediately go to nicknames.
I don't either. I mean, we're on a text. We're like in a little text group, but like I'm towards the bottom of it and he's towards the top, so I don't really talk much. I'm just glad to be there.
He totally strikes me as like the creeper type in the group text, right?
Really?
Like, doesn't say a whole lot. Yeah.
Eric, on your team, who's the outgoing one in the text message group? Of your whole team. Who's the one's the most outgoing?
Wow, I've got some big personalities on this team. I got Tyreek Hill, I got Deebo Samuel. I feel like these are guys that are going to make their voices heard. You know, call it a weird hunch, but I kind of feel like Dak Prescott gets painted as like just kind of the average guy in so many ways that he maybe overcorrects, right? Like he's got to kind of get things going to fight against that reputation that he's built. So a bit of a sleeper pick, but I think Dak might mix it up and make the most noise in a group chat.
That's a good point. Do you think Kyler Murray has a smaller iPhone so it looks like a normal iPhone in his hand, or do you think that?
Like, I think it's the Megatu from Zoolander in that when he has the little one, or from Saturday Night Live when Will Ferrell comes out in the little cart when he's at the clothing store and he pulls it down. And that looks massive in his hand, kind of like a can of beer in Andre the Giant's hand does.
Yeah.
It still looks like a giant old Zach Morris cell phone, the big brick.
A few years ago, my wife was trying to get us to drink less soda, and she started buying those little tiny cans. And I know exactly what you're talking about, the Andre the Giant, because I'd always be like, oh, my God. It's just funny to look at. So
it is. Makes you feel manly.
Oh, I love this. So Trey Lance and Brock Purdy went back-to-back.
Oh.
So, Nate, you think Trey Lance is going to start the season as the 49ers quarterback or finish the season?
I don't. I think
Okay.
I think that if I'm choosing one who has an upside of a person that's going to actually start for my team, it'd be Trey Lance. Not that it would be hard to overcome Aaron Rodgers potentially, but I think the ceiling play for Lance is so much higher. And I know Purdy had a good season last year as far as on the games that he was healthy, not the playoff game, but I'm intrigued to hear what others think. I've heard discussions for both.
Absolutely. So, Steven, you started the run on the quarterbacks there. Is this kind of the last group of guys you see as starting quarterbacks, or are there maybe a couple left?
Let me see who's out there. I mean, I guess you could say CJ Stroud potentially. I mean, Desmond Ridder has both those guys have mobility to their game there, so there's potential for them to be able to be somewhat start worthy, or at least as a potential QB2. But that's why I saw the board going around before me, and I was looking at the quarterbacks, and I was like, I don't mind these guys, but I really like Sam Howell. So I was like, you know what, let me just grab my quarterback now. And I'm glad I did, because obviously this run at quarterbacks just kind of went nuts here. So
yeah, it's funny when you're sorting by like fantasy points per game and you're kind of just trying to look at players and stuff. Sam Howell's name is there at the top with quarterbacks because that one game he had that was really great last year. So it's always been kind of like put a little twinkle in my eye with him. Always kind of keep looking at him. So let's see. We'll talk a little bit more about some of these teams. Dame going Patrick Mahomes, Geno Smith, and then Brock Purdy is our third quarterback. Wide receivers, she went A.J. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson, and Kadarius Toney. And then the running backs she has are Nick Chubb, Ramondre Stevenson, Zach Charbonnet, and Khalil Herbert. Now, that's an interesting pick. What do you think of the Chicago Bears backfield, Steven? Do you think Herbert is going to be the lead back, if there is going to be a lead one, or is there someone else there you like a little bit more?
No, I mean, in terms of value, I like Roschon Johnson. I feel like he will get opportunity on the passing down. I mean, I know all these guys can pass catch, but if you look at their college production, I mean, Herbert was basically non-existent as a pass catcher. Neither was Deontay Foreman in college. And then you see Roschon, he actually had volume and opportunity as a pass catcher. So I would assume that he will get an opportunity to be a pass catching back. And he's a big guy. I mean, he's able to hold his own as a pass protector in general, or even go out for a pass. I think Herbert starts the season as the one. And I feel like the other two get mixed in at times, and I think eventually Roshan gets that third down working the offense there for the long run.
We've got a fight in the chat, which we always like to see. Put your dukes up, Herms. And Herms ran away from the fight because I don't see any more comments from Herms. Oh, he's back. Says Kyler, too busy playing Call of Duty to text back. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kyler's got big like talk to text vibes, right? He's not putting that controller down to text anyone.
Yeah, I was just on vacation. My mother came along with us to help with the kids, and she's a big talk to texter. It's like, Mom, really?
Yeah. Wild. But
I
hey,
guess
veteran move, bringing your mom on vacation.
Yeah. We were bringing the girls to Colorado, and we know how those peaks and valleys get, and you know, so we brought the old mom along. Had a good time. Mom paid for a few dinners, so that's always good.
Hey, never change, Mom. Never ever.
Right,
I'm getting ready to set off for a vacation of my own, where mother-in-law is joining for that exact reason. And whenever we are thinking about taking a vacation, the first question that we answer is which of the grandparents can join us for this vacation, because it's such a clutch move to have them there on site, take the kids for a couple nights, whatever it might be.
And Eric, I'd like you to tell us right here on stream. How do you feel about your mother-in-law? Like, just tell us what you think about her. And we'll send it
love
to
my
her.
mother-in-law. I would almost say that I enjoy spending time with my mother-in-law more than my wife does.
That's a good relationship.
I think you can clip that and just cut off the does at the end, and then it sounds like he says he enjoys spending more time with his mother-in-law than his wife, and no one has to hear the actual. That's, it's broadcasting.
I also didn't not say that. Right?
That's true.
Fun with.
I hear what I hear. I hear what I hear.
Steven, I want to ask you about Sky Moore. So he went at the 1402, and Kadarius Toney went at the 1102. Is this a situation where you kind of like to pass on Toney to get Sky Moore? Because there's a lot of good buzz out there about Sky Moore. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, for one, Toney's barely played many NFL games at this point, so trusting him. I mean, it's not a big risk at 11, but I'd rather take a shot on the guy like Sky Moore, who was a second-round pick, who had some flashes in the offense. Again, there's very few in between there, but I feel like he was kind of like more like a redshirt season, kind of played special teams last year, really didn't get an opportunity to show himself on the field. And I feel like giving him another year in this offense, understanding it a little bit more now, opportunity opens up with Juju Smith-Schuster gone now. I feel like Sky Moore has an opportunity to really stand out, and he's probably more of a chance to stay healthy on the field. So,
absolutely. Yeah, I love that pick. That's kind of why I brought it up. Nate, now you took Jerick McKinnon, and I took Isaiah Pacheco. I'm not liking you right now. No, I'm kidding. McKinnon, he had 9 touchdowns last year, and all those receptions heading down the stretch. Do you see that kind of being the Chiefs' game plan of using McKinnon kind of as the pass catching back going forth? Or do you think Pacheco's going to get a little bit more work than he did last year?
Well, I hope Pacheco gets more work than he had last year, and starting off on the wrong foot with a little bit of an injury so far. I'm not worried about the hand. The labrum had surgery to repair. He's missed some practices, and if there was a case where Pacheco were to actually miss time, Jerick McKinnon immediately jumps in, because I think that it's not CEH, even though they brought him back. And I think that there's a case to be made that in the super deepest of deep leagues, CEH isn't a bad play, just strictly on the fact that if one of them does go down, you'll see an increase of workload. And on that offense, we've learned that there is no direct path to failure, if you will. And everybody's got kind of almost a little bit of an insulated floor just from the offense. But you talked about the Sky Moore pick earlier, too. And the one thing we've heard a lot about here is that there's a lot of people that are wanting to pigeonhole Sky Moore into the Mecole Hardman kind of role, and that they're vehemently denying that that's not going to be the case, that is not something to consider, that he will take on a much more target heavy role, more so than gadget play like Mecole Hardman had. So that's a positive for Sky Moore drafters.
Excellent. And we got to close the draft room out. Oh, good. Eric?
To double down on that correction that the coaching staff is offering up is something that they are proactively providing, right? Like there are reporters asking them questions if Sky Moore is going to fit into a similar role as Hardman, and the coaches are proactively saying, no, we want him in a more expansive role, right? So, we see a ton of reports out of camp this time of year, and having the context of what was being asked is really important. But the coaches do seem to be going out of their way to underscore the fact that Sky Moore is going to be more heavily involved than a Mecole Hardman or some of the kind of Chiefs flame out wide receivers of past. And his on-field production spoke to that, right? He didn't see the field a ton, but when he was out there, he had a 22% target rate. His snaps and his usage went up as we went further down into the season, and specifically in the playoffs, right? We saw him score that touchdown in the Super Bowl. He had a really solid game in terms of a season high for snap share in the prior round against Cincinnati, right? So, it seems like they were really keen on working him in those most, key situations. And I think that trend continues into the season.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that's going to be it for us today. A huge thanks to our guests, Steven, Nate, and Eric. Thank you guys so much for being here. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more fantasy football game show fun. Not a mock draft tomorrow. I don't even know what game we're playing tomorrow. They just throw them at me and I just pop on. You can follow our guests at Steven Coach P, or Coach Steven P, and that's with a VEN, and at Nate Markham, and you can follow Eric at Fantasy Nav. And if you've not done so already, check out our Twitter at Front Yard FYF to stay up to date on all things Front Yard Fantasy, and make sure to follow the Better Sports Network as well at Better Network. And also go to fantasyalarm.com and check out our good friend Britt Flynn's article on 2023 NFL betting futures. In the article, she gives you 10 prop bets that you can get in on early. And thanks again to our guests and everyone in the chat for joining us. And we will see you all tomorrow.
See ya.
Have a good day, everybody.